from 1300s to 1700, really, having tarot readers or seances at your mansion or castle was the thing to do. When you had your parties, that was like the parlor tricks, where that term comes from. This is exactly what it was. You had people in there that pretended to tell fortunes and guess what was going to happen to you in your future, who you might marry. It actually really relates to, if you ever played the game MASH when you were younger, where you like count letters and numbers and then you figure out if you're going to be like poor or live in a mansion, what kind of car you drive or something to that effect. This is what tarot cards started out with within these parties of the elite. And it wasn't until the 1700s where you got people who were really connecting with that occult side of themselves and coming from the country and wanted to give the images on the cards something bigger. So this is where tarot divided in its origin. There was a guy, Aleister Crowley, I think. Yeah, Aleister Crowley. So he decided, he's like, I know that the tarot cards came from ancient Egypt, and he made an entire deck and a book and everything about how the Sphinx and all the other characters from Egyptian history were actually what were supposed to be on the tarot. Well, because, the ancient civilization of Egypt wasn't really well known, that began the mysticism of everything, like, oh, secrets of the unknown, we'll never, so feeling like he had this special power, knowledge, ability, people really bought into that. And that's when people started giving more meaning to the cards than before, where it was a game of chance. Now you're looking at symbolism that talks about your ancestry and things you might be dealing with. Words like fate and understanding karma. That's where this all started to play, is in the 1700s. So on the other side, so you have this like guy that says, oh, this all came from Egypt, even though we can show now that it's originally from China and brought into the European area in the 1300s. You have the European fables of the cards. And this is where, people think gypsies and whatnot used to read tarot cards and fortunes. And they didn't do it in that manner, but they had cards, they had regular playing cards that were the decks that we know, 52 cards, and they actually assigned meanings to them. And if you ever feel like you want to nerd out on some stuff, look up the meaning of the deck of the cards within the regular, like the bicycle playing deck cards, space, spades, and all the other ones, because I don't know them very well. I'm not a card game person. So fast forward a couple hundred years, 1909, the occult is really sticking. And now we've got people in the US game system who want to create something that is more directly related to the symbolism from the 1700s, where you had, if you ever look at the major arcana and you see what look Christian to me, like when I see them, I immediately associate a lot of those images with a Christian type thing. That's because a long time ago, that's what their worlds included. They did live in a highly Christian world, but it wasn't, to do something like tarot wasn't deemed pagan yet. So in 1909, when it was finally published, the Rider-Waite Tarot, which is so sad because the artist never got her due, Pamela Colman Smith, she is the first one to ever make the cards have a story with all of their, how many swords, how many pentacles, cups, all of that inside the card. And so from learning from the Rider-Waite is way easier. If you look at the older decks, it's a lot of pictures of old people's families that they had painted for themselves to show themselves in higher fortune, or show like their sister fell down steps or something. So because it used to be more like a board game rather than a fate game or a game of chance for what your future holds, she put this deck together, and it withstood the test of time for 60 some years. And then she died in like 51, but the game system company only had rights to her artwork for so long. So in the 60s, tarot itself and the Rider-Waite could be openly traded on the public market. And that's when we start getting this flurry of all these other decks, or people redoing her artwork. This is where you get the decks that are like the fresher looking colors in them, so people were able to change them from that time on. And now, of course, as we know, the world of tarot is all over the place. You can find tarot of anything. Even, what was when I came across Star Wars? You can get Star Wars tarot. any character or thing that you want to do, you can find that now. But now you know a little bit about where it came from and how it got created and the cultures. Even today, like Italy and Spain and Portugal, they still have the decks that they used to use from the 1700s available in print for like postcards and stuff. And what it is it's a picture of some things happening to somebody, you know, a guy falling down with a fruit basket. But then also on the card, you can see like the 6 of spades or something. So that they were mirroring those playing cards that we know with a tarot of sorts.
I have to tell you guys, to interrupt and tell you guys a story. As Jamie mentioned about, you can go look up the meaning of a regular deck of cards.
Yeah.
Well, last week she's walking through a parking lot, and right in front of her is this random. It was a playing card. It was the Queen of Spades. It was the Queen of Spades. Yeah. So she sends it to me and her sister. Like, anybody need? You know, I just came across this random card, so I immediately Google meaning of the Queen of Spades, and it's like a devious, malicious woman. I was like, oh, you better watch out. It was a warning. It was a warning. And so actually, she's got some things coming up next week where there's actually
Thursday. I leave Thursday.
Yeah. So there actually it was truly a warning. And the universe literally like put it in front of her in a parking lot on the ground.
Just one card, not like many of the cards, but just the one. Right in my path.
Oh, I feel like that was a sign, and so yeah, I'm sure.
I do. What is that? Somebody's finding my iPhone sound. I do. So I can be super honest with you guys. I'm getting ready to go up to my husband's family. So it's his granddaughter, but it's his family, like his first marriage. I'm his third marriage. Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, can he hear? I don't want to talk bad about his family.
No, I'm not going to talk bad about his family. And this is his ex-wife from like 50 years ago. So not 50. Like it's his ex-wife. They were married for a very short period of time, you know, high school to like 19 or 20 years old, not a big deal. But anyways, we're going there, and we know that it can be a family of drama, and it's primarily the women that are the drama. And so he also has another granddaughter, and then not days later, she posts on one of her accounts. I don't follow them because she's a lot of drama. She posts, I can't wait, and she lives here, so she's flying up there. We're going to have to see her. She said, I can't wait to remind my family why they don't talk to me. And so she's kind of in a get up of, you know, ready to start some stuff. And it's like, oh, yeah. So I told my mom and sister, yep, I got to do a protection spell. I don't want any part of all that. There's going to be some shit going down. And I said, I don't want us in it. I'm going to just like walk away. No, we're not giving her a ride anywhere. We're not, no.
So her husband's I told her to make her husband an amulet that he can carry in his pocket.
Yes,
you know, so that nothing, to protect against that. Because there's a lot of energy around this particular person who wants a big stirring stick. You know, she's young and she's immature, and she just really likes the drama.
She likes being angry.
She likes pissing people off too. You know.
Yeah, put some. What is it? The amethyst crystal? You put it in your pocket.
Yeah.
Some amethyst in your pocket.
Some obsidian.
Some several things. Yeah.
And get the Archangel Michael to put the white light around you.
I know. I'm telling you.
But the
bring your sage.
So if you ever randomly come across a playing card, don't ignore it.
Yeah.
Look at, now you know that story.
Yeah.
If you come across one in a parking lot or somewhere else, it just shows up.
Well, see, I used to play spades all the time with my grandmother, but I never thought to Google the meaning of them, what they meant. So now I'll be Googling it a little bit.
It's amazing how these things that we use in our life every day have had meanings that people have known for so long, and yet we don't know them. It wasn't passed on to us. You know, it doesn't come with a little thing explaining it. So right. I thought that it was really cool.
That's really powerful.
Yeah. And yeah, now you guys know that I didn't even relate the two that I was doing this, and that card came up like at all. So thanks for mentioning that.
I think I had to take the opportunity because I looked it up when she found it, and I was like, there's got to be a reason for this, and there was. All right.
So next, it's getting into when when people encounter tarot cards, you'll find that some people are like really fearful, and especially if certain cards like death or the devil, like these just seem like really intimidating images. And so they often ask me, well, when you're reading tarot cards, like, is they think the cards hold the magic or the evil or whatever their feeling is towards the cards. They think like it's the deck. And I've known many people who are like, do not touch my tarot deck. You know, don't put your energy on, don't get near them. Now I got to sage them, can't use them for a month. I mean, some really out there type stuff when it comes to that. For me, what I know when I read tarot, the cards are the language, that energy from the other side. I always call it my team of light. That's what I call them. And it's the universe also. Sometimes I like just say, hey, universe, I need some help with this. But in general, when I'm using the cards to try to receive a message, the energy that I'm asking for the message from, that was hard, is definitely the universe or my team of light. So when you're doing your cards, if there's ever like, who am I talking to right now? Am I asking the deck itself? I mean, it's just paper with printed ink on it. The divination part of it comes when you're able to accept that there's another way for somebody to manipulate something, someone, energy, to manipulate your cards in your hand. That's often why I close my eyes, because if I start thinking in my human sense of like physics, can they really come in and like switch my cards around on me and I not know about it? I have to let that nerdiness go in order to like feel the intuition of the only way that we can observe reality is when we're looking for it. So if we close our eyes and we stop looking for a minute and then we open our eyes and it's there, like that's manifestation for me. That's what meditation and manifestation is. And that's when we're talking about when we're reading and we're asking the cards something, we're not actually asking the cards. We're asking the universe, we're asking the energy of the universe or our team of light to bring us a message. I'm curious to know if anybody has thought about, do you think you're asking cards? Like you say that, I say that, I'm gonna ask the cards, but I don't ever actually mean the cards. Have you guys run into that yet or heard anything about it? Had anybody say something to you about it?
Well, I don't know. I never thought of it as like being talking to the cards. I always thought, like to me, divination is like communication with the spirit world. And so it's kind of like whenever you pull a card and it's like the message from the spirit that you're getting at that time. That's why I was like, it should be whatever interpretation, because you can have the same person, like you could pull a card for him and I can pull that same card for him and you have two different interpretations.
Absolutely.
That's
was
right.
one of them wrong? And there was not one of them wrong. They're both right. They just add to the story.
Because that message is coming from your team of light or the universe or whatever. It's not coming from the card. So,
and
that makes perfect sense.
When you're getting a reading, it's not coming from the person, hopefully. That's the intuitive side of when we learn to read stuff and you let stuff flow through you without thinking about it. That's how I try to read. When I very first started, the little book that comes with the tarot cards, I don't know if you guys have seen them, but it's a little guide. Some of them are helpful, other ones are not so much. But what I would tell people while I was learning, I would say, I'm going to read you a list of words. There's going to be one or two that stick out to you. Hang on to that, and then we'll talk about it. So I read through the words, and always there would be like one word, and they're like, oh, yeah. And they would know that that word was meant for them. So until I knew how to interpret the cards, I just read the meanings off to people right from the book in front of them. There was no secrecy and like, ooh, no, it's very like, here, this is what this card can mean, and letting other people find their meaning in them, So even when I do it for myself, it's that way. Jessica, I can see your hand raised, hon.
I was thinking it's more like a tool or a vessel of knowledge to like seek what you're searching for, like what your question is. Another thing is if you're more like interested in music or things like that, you kind of like for me, I kind of look for a song that helps me to remember. I don't have my cards right in front of me, but I think it's the like that shoot, I forget what it was.
Are you thinking of a card?
Yeah, I'm thinking of a song like that matched up. If you really think about it, like you've got to fight for your right to party is like the 5 of I think it's like how they're all there like jousting in the front in the middle. I think it's like the font. It's usually a 5 and everything. So when you look in the song and everything and think of that and the lyrics to the song, you can kind of match it up that way as
Oh.
well if you're really into music.
That's
That's
very
good.
cool.
Another thing
Yeah.
is like the colors on there. I think it's the 9 of Pentacles. I've looked at it many a times, and on the bottom there's a tiny little snail in the Rider-Waite.
Mhm.
In the like on the bottom of it, and it's kind of like camouflage or so like that. So every time you look at them, you might
Yeah.
see like something a little bit more in the details that you didn't really notice before. So maybe you can also relate that to your question, that maybe you just like trying to help you like visualize more clearly what the question is and what like the action should be taken.
That comes in with knowing the story of the cards, especially for the Rider-Waite. It's one of the reasons why I have not gotten into the Oracle cards yet, because there's so many images and it's so saturated with stuff that I'm like, I don't know how to find meaning in that. For me, it's like looking at abstract art. I'm like, well, it's really pretty, but I don't really know what it means or what the artist wants me to know it means. Whereas with these, I did learn the stories of them. And I try to refresh myself on it, but I don't use Rider-Waite anymore as much. I switched to another deck about 2 years ago. But this was like, I still look at these and think of readings that I've had where it was so powerful because something came through. So yeah, I love that you pointed out the little snail in the card and like really looking at the symbolism in there. Towards maybe 3-4 more cards in, I'm going to get into sort of an overview of the cards and what you can find in each of them and what they relate to elementally.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to address like the spreads and readings just very quickly, because there are a plethora of different spreads you can do for yourself that you can find online, that you can create for yourself, that you want to do. I mean, there's books on it, there's everything. There is no wrong way to do a reading for yourself, unless you just like asking a question that is super open-ended. That's harder. Yes or no questions, if you're trying to really get to the bottom of something or ask for something or do something, I like yes or no. And I pick 3 cards out, and I always do it by if it's the right way up with the Rider-Waite cards. If it's the right way up, that's a positive, and if it's upside down, it's a negative. So if there's 2 negatives and a positive, the answer is no. So that's the only way that I've really used like yes or no with the cards. Every once in a while, I'll get one that has that the cards interpretations also are like another confirmation that yes, these were the cards you meant to pick. You know, sometimes we want to ask 3 or 4 times. We're like, are you really sure though? Because I really want this. Are you sure you want to tell me no? You're trying to really give me that yes. Give me
Keep
that
pulling
yes.
cards.
Maybe if I do 7, you know. Yeah. So
Can you just confirm one more time?
yeah. The daily
Give me clarity. More clarity.
That would be the daily draw for me. The clarity daily draw is like 1 card a day, and I just try to learn the card for that day and apply it to something during the day. If you have a lot of focus and drive, at the end of the day, you'll reflect and try to see where that card could go. For me, I was always trying to apply the concepts within the card, or look at how, if this was a card with like a negative attribute, okay, well, how could I see that in my own life and then change it or make it better? And then, of course, the most common one is the 10-card spread. Some people call it like the cross of something. It has a lot of
Celtic
names.
cross.
Celtic, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to name a spread. That's what I've learned in 22 years. Everybody wants to get a spread with a name that's like cool sounding. And hey, if they can lay it out and they can give you the meanings behind it, and you give your team of light at least a little bit of time to prep while you shuffle and think about it, and they're like working the energy in as far as like what you're about to do, I say go for it. I'm a creature of routine in some ways. I just do my regular stuff, and I don't experiment outside of the box too much, because what I've done works for me, and so why change it if it's not broken, right?
Yeah.
If it's not broken,
It's
that much.
working.
So I encourage you to try all spreads until you find one that you really feel fits with you. But this is where you should go crazy on like a Pinterest or Instagram looking for stuff, because people really like to make it up. And for doing it even for yourself, if you want to make one up, definitely do it for yourself too. Jessica, I'm not sure if your hand is raised again or if
Yeah, I just you can also look into like the numbers for numerology and relate it to that, but also the planetary associations.
Yep.
Like 3s are Saturn, 4s are Jupiter, and so on.
yeah.
To see that, and get into the astrological aspect of it as well. And then also the suits. So if you're getting a lot of
Yeah.
suits like correlating to like the elements,
Yes, I am going to go over
like
that.
air.
Yeah, I definitely love the elemental connection. For me, that has a stronger association that I can, number one, I can remember it easier, and it always hits home for me, or it feels right. So in case there's not been a translation for you guys ever, the major arcana just means the greater secrets, and the lesser arcana means the lesser secrets. And the way to really think about this, and especially how it was played since the 1700s, is they used to call them the trump cards, but the major arcana was big life events or fate lessons or things that were like on a grander scale. And then with the minor arcana, this was about like your daily life, routines, habits, and the only difference in there is the court cards. So with the Rider-Waite, the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. These are going to actually represent people. I mean, they should represent people when you're thinking about the card and where it's played. Normally would be, and it can be a perspective of yourself, So I get a lot of masculine cards because I definitely feel like I have a lot more masculine traits as far as like leadership and being right all the time and, taking shit from no one. I don't know, things like that. So I feel like I tend to get more of those.
Hey, that's me trying to come in. I'm gonna have to go back on my phone because this lady's trying to come get some of our mom's stuff, so I might have to go downstairs
Okay.
in a minute.
I'll admit you.
But I'm gonna stay here until I hear her come down there.
Okay. You'll just want to mute in case they're both trying to.
Oh, okay.
Time.
Did Trent make it in? I know he was trying to get in.
I did not see him come in. Yep. Using the computer for the first time, it's weird not knowing where all the buttons are. Okay. I didn't see Trent come in. I'll have to catch him later.
Okay.
He loves tarot too. Okay, so the symbolism on the card, I already mentioned this earlier. I always skip ahead and stuff. But Pamela Coleman Smith was the first one to add all of the suit symbols into the pictures to describe it more. And this was sort of a revelation of such that people could start using them with the messages involved because it did tell a story. Whereas before, it was really simple. It was just a number. So you had to remember a lot of different associations, like Jessica was mentioning, like what numbers go with this or an astrological sign that goes with it. Now you can, if you find the story and remember it, it's a lot easier. So I talked about that one. Okay, into the suits and what they mean. This is my favorite part of knowing tarot. So the wands are the element of fire. And it took me the longest time to get this because I couldn't imagine that all of the wands have like little green buds coming out of them. I was like, there's no fire anywhere. And it would just like, it was the one that wouldn't stick. But I thought of a way today to help if you haven't thought of a way to think about it. Imagine the wand is Harry Potter's wand where he like zaps something or changes something. Because the wand is like, it's a creative tool. It's made for creating. It's also about like goals and ambitions and dreams. So it's the creating your future. Transformation is what fire means for me. Fire is the transformation element. So in the same way of like going after your goal or trying to create or change something, that's where I can find the fire element resonating.
In the wands,
yeah.
When you look at the wands, I think of that it's fire because they're made out of wood usually, and in the Rider-Waite, and wood is used to burn fire, like to make fire. And then,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
And then like the cups, the chalice, because you drink out of a cup, it's water.
Yeah.
Pentacles is the coins, and it reminds me of people like planting a seed. And if you look at a lot of the cards, it's like the seeds are planted, so it's earth.
Yeah.
And air is a sword, and if you think of a sword, if someone's going to like swing a sword to somebody, like a baseball bat or something, they're cutting through the air to reach you.
So Jessica just gave you a preview for my next 3 cards. That's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. What? You already know. It's totally fine.
I think of things differently. Like I'm not.
I know, we're very similar. Yes. Listen,
I
I'm not
teach people
mad.
how to remember things and everything all
That's-
day.
Yes, yes. That's me. That's why I love being a teacher, because figuring out how to put things together so that it's easier to remember. Don't learn something brand new, add it to something else that you already know to make the remembering easier.
I teach elementary school, so I have to keep coming up with more and more, ways to help them remember certain equations or whatnot.
Well, I love that. That was me all through school. See, we're nerding out. I love that stuff. Okay, lastly, with the wands for you guys to look at is that they all have growth. So all of them have the little green leaves starting on them. So that's another of the creation and the growth and the goals and ambitions and all of that. But for the other thing with fire is noticing that the court cards, they're all desert scenes. They also have lizards and lions, which are, lions in Africa, the hot desert, the terrain, the heat there, and then lizards, of course, which usually only exist in warmer climates. So in looking at the stories of the cards, I was going to talk about this mostly with the major arcana, but if you were to lay just the suit in front of you and you start to look through it, a lot of them are about gatherings or success or the turmoil of getting something and then having it, but you got bruised in the process. So the gathering of the wands, it's creating a future that you're bringing into yourself or losing one that you thought you were going to have. So that is the wands. That is how I studied them by suit when I was learning them a long time ago. And then Jessica mentioned cups are the element of water, which for me, water is always emotions. In numerology, the 2, the 2 is the most emotional number, and the letters that are under 2 are B, K, and T, which is bucket. It was very easy to go from tarot's cups with water to numerology's bucket of water. So the whole thing really fits together for me. And the cups with being emotion are all about our relationships, the family, the friends, matters of your heart, so anytime that you've got the emotions involved, or anytime the cups are involved, the emotions are there as well. And then I love their court cards if you haven't looked at them, because I just noticed the little mermaid people. I don't think I ever noticed them on the Queen's chair. There's little mermaid cherubs and they're really cute. So you can see the fish, there's fish things throughout the court cards. There's the shell necklaces and stuff, the mermaids on the chair, and then there's water, literal water behind them, which is great. I mean, I think the page has a small river. You can't really tell him, but he's got fish all over him. If you look at his outfit, definitely the water symbols there.
Yes.
All right, and then swords. I also, I guess, Jessica, did you come up with it on your own or did you hear it somewhere, the sword swinging through air? Because that's just what I came up with, how I remembered it. Same?
Same. I just look at them and I kind of visualize for ways for me to remember. Because sometimes I was getting things confused.
Yes. Yeah. Swords swinging through air. Because I was in the military, I used to associate swords. I wanted to associate swords with the military. And I guess it could in some ways because it talks about action and intellect and then conflict, change, and power. Yeah, I guess that could be a card of military type stuff. Maybe it was a reading I had one time where the swords, she knew it right away. She's like, "Are you in the military?" I was like, "Yes." I don't know why I'm upset when people get things right at readings. I'm like, am I that see-through? No, but it's also really good because obviously they have a good connection that where they're speaking through the cards. So the big thing with swords is the destructive tendencies. It can either be constructive or destructive. And I feel like the swords more portray destructive things happening than constructive. And so when swords have always been a huge suit that shows up for me, I think because I can't help but try to lead people. And if they don't let me, I fight with them. I don't know. So I might be combative a little bit. I'm like, no, I know the right way. Just follow me. I'm a good follower too, but mostly I learn so I can lead. And so with the swords, it's you're not only having this battle outwardly, but also within yourself. The constructive and destructive qualities within yourself of what makes your life happy versus sad, better versus worse, your habits. I was a lollygagger. My mom said she couldn't get me to go anywhere fast. And as an adult, I did find that procrastination was my middle name. So it was like things about myself that I had to look at and go, okay, this really doesn't help me. I get this the way I've always been, but damn it, it's very frustrating. And it's always like biting me in the ass. So changing stuff about yourself with that constructive and destructive elements. Yeah, I don't get swords much anymore, so that's good.
If you look at the
last-
swords,
Huh?
it talks the swords have to do with like the consciousness of mind too, and like maybe like power or force, but also like oppression, or not being able to like have your voice heard. If you look at like the Eight of Swords, the person is here and they got a blindfold on and they're loosely wrapped, like there's like a cloth loosely wrapped around them, and the swords are there and they can escape it, but maybe like they don't feel like they had the voice to stick up for themselves in whatever circumstance it is, but they can find a way out if they really like push past and use force to get out.
It's that power struggle, right? Do we accept? Okay, as somebody, I know a lot of you guys maybe don't know my original story of like being victimized before, but once you've been victimized by something, by anything, whether it's home life or relationship or your job, there's that sticks with you, and whether or not you stay in that, knowing it, and it becomes a crutch or something you live with, and you're just like, oh, look at this thing, or you leave it, let it go, and move on to something else. But it's hard once you're in that transitional phase of like, I felt like I didn't have power for so long. Now that I do, I don't know how to use it. I don't know how to use it. So, I mean, I guess that's why even with that, like militant, having power, not having power, you can build something or destroy something with it. And the elements of yourself are right there in that, of your personality, the way that you see the world. I mean, when we do our shadow work, I would say a lot of it would be more in that swords area where you're trying to figure out parts of yourself that got destroyed. How do you rebuild it, make it better? What's the bargain or the exchange with it? Because that's the deep stuff. Ooh, swords cut deep.
Well, and I guess that goes to how it goes different ways too, because a lot of times, like you said, the constructive or deconstructive, you can also look at it as things that you needed to destroy that's no longer serving you. So you make way for the things that do serve you to come in.
Absolutely, yeah. And all this insight just into knowing when the swords come up, now you can speak from a place of going, oh, this is going to be something bigger, with the power struggle, whether within yourself, at a job, with a relationship, that it's turbulence or turmoil. Like cards or readings that have a lot of swords in them, you can pretty much know right from the get-go there's a lot of turmoil in that person's life. Like, oh crap, you might really be in a struggle for your sanity, your health, your well-being, because a lot of swords represent that. They represent that fight or that. It was oppression. Is that the right word? I was thinking of like being held down or oppression. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. So swords are deep with us. Yes, that conversation. Whew. And then to Pentacles, as Jessica mentioned, she talked about it as being a seed, which I've never thought about it as a seed, even though there's a lot of growth and gardening. I guess I relate that because of the earth stuff that's in there. Seeds, or not seeds, the pentacle or pentagrams, however you want to see the card, a pentagram is it's the star with a circle, pentacle. No, I have a flip-flop. Pentacle is the star in the circle, pentagram. Damn it, did I have it right? Pentagram is just the star. Pretty sure. Yeah, pentagram is the star.
Is that one?
Has the circle around it.
Is that the pentacle right there?
Yes.
That's the pentacle? Okay.
Yeah. And originally, a long time ago, they would have looked like actual little coins. But, so I have on here pentacles or coins because they do represent like money, home, wealth, career, job, success, loss of job. So if you look at the suit, you'll see people like working, some people are getting paid. I mean, you see the work ethic in there. It's like the physical stuff that's going on Earth with home. So ruled by Earth. And the big thing that this it's generosity and greed. You've got the balance in this suit is generosity and greed. If you are only seeking money, what's given after that, or if you're dependent on everybody your whole life and you're not ever putting stuff back out into the world, what is that life going to be like? But it is a focus completely on the physical world. So when it comes up in a reading, it's definitely going to be for your job or your house, your material possessions. And then I love that it's just like all fruits and gardening and stuff, because for me, that's the opposite of money. I'm like, when I see fruits and gardens and lovely stuff, I always think, I don't know, like the divine or goddess or something, but this is money. I was like, this clash. So this was another one where it was hard to get my head around that this is an earth card.
I see a lot of abundance when I see, which kind of I try to connect it with the pentacle.
Yeah.
Like the 9 of pentacles.
Yes,
Yeah,
right.
with that abundance. Not that we all want lettuce, do we? No.
But they have the representation on the card so that even when you see that in the major arcana, you still know what that pentacle represents within the deck itself. So still a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have anything else for that one. Okay, so I'm on my last card, and what I don't know, you guys probably do not have your decks out like in order, but I wish I could have the cards flash through the screen right now, because I'm starting at the Fool, and I'm going to tell you guys a story that is totally fictitious, okay? It is not real, but I do this every once in a while with the cards to see where my mind lands as I talk about them. So you're going to get to see me do this, what do you call it? By the seat of my pants? Why by the seat of my pants? I'm just going to make this up, but I want later on, hopefully you don't remember any of my story and you can make up your own. Later on, try to get the deck, the major arcana in order. You're going from Fool all the way to the World, and not with a ton of thought, but by looking at the pictures, you start describing it. You start describing what you're seeing and maybe what the feeling is with the card, and it's going to tell you a story in one way, shape, or form. And it's amazing how much, if we just don't really think about what we're saying, it does coincide with these cards. The images I do have a hard time with are the ones that are more secular. That's not the right word, is it? Secular? Religious? Yeah, that's right? I don't use that word very often. And my mother's the human dictionary for me. She taught me all my words. So, all right. I have my Fool in front of me. And in the Fool, I see this like super blissful person who's just like, wee, la, 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 on my way, like possessions of little, able to travel as much as they want, looking to the sky, probably singing to a bird, but he's about to walk off a cliff. And then there's the magician. The divine enters and goes, whoa, look at all of your possibilities, and you're out here being fruitless and doing nothing with yourself and singing to birds. Like, get with the program, realize all your gifts. So here's the magician mastering all of the elements. And the magician for me is not male or female. It's control over the 5 senses, or, the elements with spirit. That's what the magician is for me, with the infinity symbol above their head. And then, of course, and especially since I'm a woman, then there comes the high priestess, because without the priestess, there cannot be creation. But she is just in her ways, and there is equal night and day, equal light and dark, and she is ready to help people. And I imagine that her little thing says tarot instead of tarot, which has symbolism in itself. But oh my gosh, the fruits. Pomegranate behind her. Mm-hmm. What I love about the pomegranate symbolism is that this is Persephone, who spends half the year above in sunshine and the other half in the underworld with her husband. So for me, that is the balancing of the energy, but it starts with a female. That's why she's the high priestess. Okay, and yeah. So then the Empress comes in, right? So now she has to choose light or dark. Which inner does she go with? So the energy now, she's going into the dark side to feel out all the emotions and figure out the soul first. So this is the creation with the heart and the femininity, and I will put a soul into something. There's water flowing behind her, So once she's figured out her feminine side, she goes into the sun side, where she's got the masculine emperor side. And now you get to see what it's like to rule over something or be in charge of things. And on to the harem, which I just look at this as the introduction of order within our societies. When we have two things that don't match, somebody tries to tell us that we have to take sides and do things differently, that we can't be equal or the same. And the harem card is there to acknowledge that. Then comes the lovers. Oh, we are different, but we can come together again. You've got the male and female energies coming back together and creating something. And the chariot rides in with the hopes and dreams of a family. This is the pregnant woman with a baby, just like all the possibilities in the world. And what does it take to have a baby? Strength. So now we've got the feminine with the lion, where she's able to tame this crazy amount of pain just to bring life into the world. And after having a baby, the only safe place to go is into a cave, like the hermit. So she takes her young, hides away, teaches them, helps them grow. And in the hermit years, there's knowledge, because not only have you grown yourself, but now you're teaching somebody else to grow. Then comes the wheel of fortune, because the baby has to leave the house, and oh my God, they get to make decisions for themselves, and it's scary as shit. And you never know what's going to happen. So justice must be done. When the baby messes up, baby's got to have consequences. So now we're bringing in, you've multiplied, and there's many, many people in the world, and you must look out for the weak and have justice for the youngins. I'm making it all up as I go. Next is the hanged man. So we've gotten to a place where the young people have learned justice, and they're feeling bound and trapped and tied, and they don't understand rules because it's their first experience with them. So they're feeling like the hanged man, stuck in a place where they don't belong. They need a change. In rides death on the horse to change from power. The mother and father are getting older, and the young must inherit the earth. When the young inherit the earth, guess what they realize? That's not so easy being grown, is it? So with temperance, they have to learn that through all of their trials and tribulations and fighting to get into that power, the one thing they didn't know that they would have to have is the ability to calm themselves down and make things smooth. And they're finally starting to reflect and see that through their parents' eyes, through the past generations, here's how we really need to be. And it's at that moment that they're learning, oh my God, my parents were right. In comes the devil. They start having to battle the difference between doing things for the right reason versus the wrong reason. The primal need to stay in charge and fight for what they've built. Because now with all the people that have populated the area, they're having a really hard time maintaining control. And they want to either give in or fight back really hard. And then the tower. Things fall apart, because in order for things to get better, stuff has to really come to a head, and there has to be, you have to get to your most desperate hour, your most desperate moment before you can really change and break free from the old. In comes the star. This would be like dipping into the waters of rejuvenation, the fountain of youth, and being able to bring yourself back to life in a way after a long battle, and like recognizing everything that used to be. Like that water has a memory. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that, but when I think of water, the fact that water has a memory, and if you speak to it, it can freeze into different shapes, whether it's like nice, soothing words versus like ugly, hateful words. That's the star water. Then you have the moon. With the moon, you have to go back into self-reflection, but you also lie to yourself a little bit, like things will get better, or I can make this different this time, and you try to goad yourself into, I can accept this thing about myself that I don't really like, but then you have the sun, the illumination process, where it's like, oh, you can't deny, you don't get to lie to yourself anymore. Here we go, back to that masculine sun side. Lastly is judgment. I don't really have words for judgment because it's such a scary freaking picture with these weird white people on them. I mean, they're like, they're not
from the grave.
I mean, yes, biblically, but they're still like chalk white people. They're so weird.
No, they're mine, they're gray.
Yeah, they're gray in the right of way.
Which they really look dead on mine.
Yeah. Well, why is their hair colorful if their bodies are white? It just doesn't make sense. But judgment, I think judgment is when we bring that upon ourselves, when we have to really look back and say, what did we do? Was it worth it? Maybe not was it worth it? What did we do? What was the impact we had? do we think we've reached our highest potential? And when we finally start looking at ourselves and going, what could we do better? That is when the world opens up to you, when you are trying to help the world for other people and not just yourself. That's my whole story.
That's the story.
Yay.
That is not the story.
That
It
was
is
awesome.
a story.
Yeah.
But I encourage you to look at the cards and see what you see with them and like what your symbolisms might mean, or my story is a reflection of things I dealt with in my own life. Definitely with the female male power struggle, with trying to lie to myself to get through things, to in the end, I had to do what I felt would not only make me happy, but help the most amount of people to move forward with my life, to like ever get to that place where I accept myself fully. So each suit you can do that with too. Those are really fun because they actually show people like working really hard, not doing so well, like messed up relationships, possible abuse. I don't know, like they kind of get deep if you really look at them. And that's once you create your story, and then you can go back through your books, or if you look up meanings online, because the books are just like very simplified. I mean, you got to imagine that people made this up. So you can make up your own stuff with it to a degree. Like your own understanding of the card should be your words to a degree when you're giving a reading so that you feel comfortable saying it.
I appreciate knowing that because, I've always felt like, well, the card is this, so that's it, right? Somebody wrote it, but you're saying this is new. So, I mean, relative
13 years old.
Is new. And people have just been like, oh, I think this is going to be the story of that card. But there are these things hidden in there, like the snail, or the mermaids, or these little things that have meaning. So I try to look at the cards and really see what's going on, and then, interpret that.
Thank you, Pamela. She didn't get her to do it all. She died like broken alone.
That's just not fair.
I know. It's really sad. No descendants. Yeah, it just sucks.
Oh,
Poor lady.
well,
I think too.
Is a queen.
Say again?
Yeah, no, because she was talking about how like the different stories, and I was thinking too because like you said, it's a story. Because I'm looking at this King of Wands, and I might be reading it for you and see one thing in it for you, and then read it for your mom and see something I didn't even notice in yours, but noticed in your mom's.
Yeah. And that's where the divination part of it comes in, and each reader specifically. When I read people, so here's an admittance. I got into reading palms when I was very, very young, but the older I got, the more pressure was put on me, and I started to really fear that judgment thing in my early 20s. So I used to have a couple drinks before I did it. I was like, oh shit, no. I'm like, I'm gonna say something wrong, or I'm gonna, they're gonna say something back to me. And these are people, that I worked around. I was on a ship with 1,500 people, so eventually I was gonna run into some of them. And so, but then it started this really terrible habit that every time I drank, I just went around grabbing people's hands and reading them. I'm like, okay, I shouldn't force that on people. They should, I should at least ask them if they're interested first. But, when you're half drunk at 22, you don't really care what people are thinking. So,
well, and you discovered something that you were good at, and so you just want to share it.
I know. And I loved seeing people wowed because I knew inside what I was really getting to was that it was never me talking. I didn't like look at them and go, they're probably, this is like, I never did the human thing of judging. I just like talked and the stuff would come out of my mouth. And then I'd wait for a reaction like, I wonder how that went. I have no idea. Like, there's no way of really knowing you're right until somebody says something. But I guess because I had blown so many people's minds, and obviously they had been drinking a little bit too. So I can remember lots of times, like people, girls are like, no, come to the bathroom with me. No, you gotta come here. You're gonna see my friend Sarah. I was like, yeah, okay, let's go see her. Sorry, Sarah. I knew lots of Sarahs. So it was like every single time I did it, I got myself into stuff, but it made my night so great. I'm like, oh my God, I can't open a business and do this. At least that's what I used to think. But I can just go around being drunk and doing it all the time. That's awesome. So now I'm trying to be legitimate. I'm just not a super buzzed, hand reader on the side of the corner somewhere. I don't know. But tarot cards is different. I do not usually drink with tarot cards. I like all my faculties with me. I drink during it or after it, but never before it, like I did with palm reading. I guess
Oh,
that
we're talking about palms. I thought you were talking about tarot.
no, that was palms. With tarot,
Oh, with palms.
tarot is
She's really good at palm reading too. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
That's so good.
I with tarot, I like to be in a space where I can really clear my head, because that's another way of like letting messages come through you that you're not really thinking about. Cicely, this is what I was getting at with your thing where you said I could look at a card for you and see something, but if I read it for your mom, I would see something different. That's 100% accurate. I mean, when you're reading the cards for different people, even if you have remembered what it meant, if you're speaking with spirit or with spirit on your side, like, or your team of light, that's what will happen. They'll just put words in your head and you'll speak them, and then you're going, what? Do I even know that word? Yeah. So when that happens, it's kind of like, oh man. I had a reading one time with a lady. Actually, I took my son when he was like 11 or 12 for his birthday. And in the middle of the reading, she was like, oh, wait. She's like, oh, I just saw a lot of glimmer over here. I know that's one of my guides with me. She's like, you guys must be really something. I was like, I'm not going to tell you that, what I am, but yeah, sure, we'll go with that. So even when you're around other people who their gift is getting stronger, your gift is getting stronger, and these little things happen when you get together, like, your team of light starts becoming visible to you in your real eyes. It's like, whoa, oh, what just happened? So it's very
Cards
cool.
jump out of the deck.
Cards jumping
Yes.
out of the deck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fly across the room.
Yeah.
Well,
I
it's
didn't
interesting.
that with tarot cards. That's good. Yeah.
It's interesting how all these different divination tools, 'cause even the Bible could be a divination tool. Because when I used to be like going door to door helping people with the Bible, it's kind of like they say prepare your lessons before you go. And I have this scripture because I know something about the person's situation. I was like, oh, this is the scripture they need. I pray about it and everything. Then I get to the call, and it's kind of like that scripture is nowhere in my mind. I can't even remember what it is. And so another one comes up, and the one that came up is not only the one for that person, but it's the one for my situation.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would definitely say the Bible is a divination tool. There's so many people that it helps and it's good for. I'm not Christian, but that does not mean that I'm not the messages of any religion. I think that you can find beauty and message in all of the religions and everything that they do. So I have a lot of respect for that. I just wish they'd publish the whole thing. That's all I want.
Well, and
Yes.
who knows what the whole thing is? Because some people say these books, but it's all confusion. So I call it life by design. If it works for you, take it and accept it.
There
and
you
if it
go.
don't, just let it go.
Yeah. And if you ever get to a place and you have a bad reading or a reading that is, you're like, yeah, nothing about that felt good or right. I don't have any great advice for you, but I just walk away going, okay, well, they're still on their journey. I know originally it was like, they're fake, they're a fraud, they're a phony, but that doesn't have to necessarily be the case. A lot of people want to start this journey and they just need practice getting out there, and they find ways to do it. And I'm like, I'm willing to help somebody. I'm willing for them to, I consider it experiment on me. Like, yeah, go ahead. I'm not going to be rude, and I'm going to be so pleasant and nice about it because I want them to continue learning if that's their goal. So with readings like that, I usually just start telling other people about it because I feel like it would mean something to somebody else. So I took a couple of my husband's grandkids, he has like 8 of them, but I took a couple of them to a reading one time, and we all got read by different people, but we were all told that we were in the healthcare industry or that we were nurses. And I'm like, they're both in high school still. I'm like, I'm a psychologist. That's not really the same thing at all. But what I didn't know was what their mother, who passed away, she was in school to be a nurse. And we were like, oh, so she kind of came through on all of our readings. And it was like, all right, well, that makes sense. So even if you get something that doesn't seem like it makes sense at the time, it's like, hang on to it and maybe tell a couple people about it. And like Cicely said, it could, like, you got something that means the same thing for you and for them. So it's that.
And not that, but they're reading the cards like right here for our earthly lifetime. But whatever past life you had, that's still in your conscious, or not in your subconscious. And so maybe y'all were nurses or doctors in the previous lifetime, and maybe that's what connected y'all here in this lifetime.
I definitely could have been. I wanted to be a veterinarian a long time ago.
See, that's what I wanted to be, a veterinarian.
Definite job. once I found out when you're a veterinarian, you'd have to put an animal down, I was like, okay, well, no, I can't do that job no more. I don't know what I'm gonna do now. I was so lost for like 2 years. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do when I grow up. Not being able to be a veterinarian.
I didn't know that's what changed your mind.
Yes. I was gonna go into the Air Force and be a veterinarian because they pay for school and blah blah blah. And so then they were like, yeah, no, you'll have to like cut their limbs off, put them down, do things like that. I was like, oh God, no. Like I get to like give them medicine and flea and tick, stuff and be on their way. I'm like, no, I can't do that. No. So, all right. Well, are there any other questions concerning some of the stuff that we went over, or just, this is the New Witch Q&A. So anything else you guys want to talk about? I know my mom, you don't bring Tank over anymore because of his stinky.
No, it's not because of that. It's because he wants Jamie's attention throughout the meeting. So, and I start getting annoyed because he won't sit, even if I give him a bone or whatever. He just
wants to get in my lap. So.
Yeah, he just loves her so much. So.
And he stinks. Really.
So I'm going to cut out, you guys. It was fun and nice seeing all of you.
Yeah.
Again.
Hi, Kat.
And see you hopefully next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you guys again. Have a good rest of your week.
Love you. Bye.
All right. Oh my God. Your hat. Oh, your hat. There it is. Nice. Now I have a huge screen and it's just me. Now my computer screen seems weird. I don't know if I sit too close to my TV.
I think you're in speaker mode.
I'm on speaker mode?
You might be if that's what's happening.
Oh, no, I mean, I can see everybody. It's just, I feel it's really massive. I mean, my screen thing is just, it's larger than when I'm on my cell phone. So.
Because she got the whole screen instead of.
It's like going from here to
box.
here. I have to make sure my office is more picked up. The computer screen. Yeah.
No judgments here. If I was to flip the camera around.
Yeah. So I started recording these, and I have like 4. I think this will be 5. I think. And I'm putting them onto a private YouTube channel for anybody who wants to go back on and listen or watch. It's so odd that it downloads with 3 different files. So it's got a chat file, it's got just audio, and then it's got, I think, audio video with everybody. So what are your guys' thoughts on that as far as using it? Or I obviously want to keep it private because there's nothing that says we will be recording this, sign this consent form or something. I don't know what you're supposed to do for that, but
on Zoom you can have you can ask in the settings about something that you have to agree when you open it and that you're being recorded.
Yeah, and let everybody know it.
Yeah, so they didn't ask anybody that though, even though it was recording.
No,
No, I
there's
can
something
record
underneath
on
in
the
the
thing.
settings under recording when you go into my meeting. And you scroll down in advanced, it would tell you.
Okay.
And you just flip it over so it's green or blue.
Okay. I will do that for next meeting. So before I post anything, and I was thinking about just audio too, of it being more like a podcast, but sometimes we show stuff. I could always add pictures in. I don't know. I'm still very new to it and figuring it out, but I know that there's been meetings that people have missed that I wish they could have heard. And I'm like, oh yeah, I went through that. And I don't know, I guess documentation for other people too, if you ever want to go back and listen to it. How helpful do you think that would be for you guys? Like if you missed a meeting and you recorded it, what's the likelihood, like 1 to 5, that you might go back and either watch or listen to it?
Yeah, especially if I knew it, like if I missed this one and I saw it was going to be about tarot.
Yeah, it would definitely have the subject. And it would only be open to our meetup group people anyways. That would be it. So I'm not going to broadcast it for anybody else.
And yeah, and I've seen them do it before too. Like if they were going to record it and then like let it be played somewhere later, they put it at the beginning, like before you even start the meeting, like put maybe the first screen. This session is being recorded for later production. So they're aware that when I used to drive for Uber and Lyft, we could use cameras, but had to let people know they were being on camera.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's my hesitation. I was like, well, crap. I've told people they were going to record or able to record, but I'm not sure if I announced it every meeting. So,
You can download it to an MP4, like an audio file, and just upload it to like a Google Drive and just give everyone the link. So it's,
yeah,
you don't have to, or video.
yeah,
Yeah, you can do video too as well. Mhm.
yeah.
And
And then
on
you
your,
can
on
make
your
them a
meetup
viewer
page.
or an editor.
Ooh,
And,
I'm sorry, Cicely and Jessica, you guys talked at the same time. What was it? Cicely, will you go?
and-
What did you say?
No, saying something about even on your meetup page when you introduce this. I don't know if you can go back and type, but you can put in there that the when you participate in this meeting, it's going to be recorded.
Yeah,
You know, something to that effect, like whatever you have to put legally wise, and then that way, whenever you play it back, if they say, "Oh, I didn't want to be recorded," you got it right there in the beginning that they knew it was going to be recorded.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if anybody ever had a problem, I would take it down.
Yeah.
But I would want to just inform people first. Can you guys see on your screen that it shows recording?
On the
Mhm,
cell
yeah.
phone, I
Okay.
can.
So there's, okay, just making sure. Still figuring it all out. I used Zoom at my last job, but I don't know. We just didn't, we didn't get into like all the options you could do with it or whatever, I guess. It was very basic. And somebody else usually ran the meeting. I just sat there. Not always interested. But okay, so on to anything new witch related or questions or topics. I've not picked a topic for next week, although I thought about doing palmistry, and now palmistry's come up a couple times in the last week for me. Harder to teach probably, but everybody has their palms on them all the time, so I'd be like, look at your hand, and
Oh, wow.
you know, and just sort of an intro-ish. I literally only had one book on palmistry, and I've tried so hard to learn from it, and it doesn't stick for me. What I know and what I say comes from some other dimension, and I don't know. And I've let people borrow the book before. I'm like, yeah, you can try it with this book. I really like it, but I don't use it to read palms. I don't know what else to tell people. It sounds crazy going, yeah, one day I just woke up knowing this. Yeah. See how you could really worry about being perceived as something, you know?
Yeah, I love all the goodness, palmistry,
Yeah.
crystals, rituals,
Great.
spells, there's such a buffet, just whatever you decide
Yes.
is good. I love it all.
Well, thanks. Okay. I think I'm gonna try to do palmistry next week, just see how that goes. I'll have a backup topic if it starts to sour, I think. I don't know. Like intro, and then what do we have? We've had so much celestial movement lately that I really haven't talked about in the meetups. I used to talk about that a lot in the beginning because I didn't know what people were ready for as far as like learning or interest. And now that the group has grown so much and kind of broadened, it's like, oh, okay, picking a topic really helps. But the Mercury is going into retrograde soon, and that's huge on communication. It's the planet of communications, and this usually affects people who already have problems with communication or people who communicate too much. The drama with the talking. Yeah. Again, this is why I have to do a spell against like where I'm going with a Queen of Spades drama queen. So that's something to look out for. I'm pretty sure it happens on the 22nd, which is Saturday. So if you guys have anything coming up this week or into this weekend, that's something to be considered about or something to consider is you might not want to talk too much. That could get you in trouble, or your lack of talking to some people might hurt their feelings or upset them. It's usually something to do with that.
What's the duration this time?
Oh gosh, it's always like 2 months, month and a half. June, July. I have to look it up in my calendar. But I just know when it's coming, and then so what I do is usually look at stuff a week or two out, maybe. And then but in the back of, I don't know if you guys have ever used this, the Llewellyn's Witches Date Book. I get them every year. I love them. I mark little things down in them. I keep track of the full moons and what signs they're going to be in. So that's Wait, did I grab the right year? I'm pretty sure. Oh, here it is. 520. Oh, it says 529. I was off by several days, so sorry. 529 to 622. Oh, okay. So not that long, a month-ish. Yeah. But Mercury is just, it's always with the communication. That's what people get into. They either talk too much or don't talk enough. That's what I
I hope for a smooth sailing on the 29th. I'm going away on the weekend with somebody on a little road trip. So I hope it's going to be not the drama, but not the, radio on silence.
Yeah. It would be, so if you're going to be stuck in close quarters with somebody, be careful how much you overshare. That, and it may be for them too. If they start talking about things that are maybe you really don't want to hear about, maybe that's the time to turn the radio on or like stop and take a break and maybe let them clear their head. Because normally with retrogrades, the disturbance is caused because people start trying to reflect backwards, right? They're thinking in backwards mode. And so stuff comes up that they didn't even realize they wanted to talk about. And then with people who do a lot of talking, they get excessive and they'll make things up. It's like you'll inflate the story. The fish got bigger and bigger and bigger. And for us trying to just control ourselves, it could be a temper. If you get upset where you normally wouldn't say anything, now you're like popping off at the mouth. Stuff like that. It's the communication side of communicating your emotions or your thoughts, things from your past that come up. But retrogrades are always about the appearance of moving backwards. So this is why it's the setbacks of bad communication, not good communication. So if you're prone to it, if you're in relationships or have friendships where you're prone to that stuff, you'll want to pay attention to it because you could end up not talking to somebody for several weeks and then finding out that they think you're so mad at them over nothing. Or, it's things like that usually go on. But,
Wow.
So June 22nd is actually my 2-year anniversary for my wedding. And it's the day after Midsummer, which is Letha, which I love Letha. That's the fairy holiday for me. Yeah. So June, anybody have any summer plans to do anything awesome or regular? What's summer like for everybody?
Yes.
Well, I'm stuck here. I'd love to travel. I would love to travel and be somewhere really warm and, Caribbean-like.
Yes.
Oh, Florida sounds good.
Yeah.
But I'm here for a minute. I'm up in the DC, Maryland area, so.
Yeah.
Oh, you
just-
are? I'm in Baltimore.
You're in Baltimore. All
Yeah.
right. You're just 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
I'm in
Yeah.
Delaware and the Jersey Shore also.
Oh, okay. So you're just up the road too.
I'm in Columbus,
Nice.
Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio.
Road trip.
Yeah. Well, see, the Greyhound, because I don't drive, but they got like these things where I can go to Cincinnati for like $15 one way. So I thought, you know what? One of these weekends, I'm just going to go to Cincinnati just to go. And I'm from
Yeah,
Georgia.
get up and get
so-
out of town for a minute.
Yeah, road trips are they my vacation. I don't gotta buy nothing. I can just ride somewhere I ain't never been, and I'm
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
That's good. Jamie, I did want to ask everyone if what their go-to tarot deck was. I was just curious
Yeah.
what everyone, what's their go-to deck, or if they have a favorite deck they like to work with outside of, the Rider-Waite is a typical deck, but there's so many other, yeah.
But see, I didn't know there were different ones. But when I first got connected with tarot, I thought I was still muted. This was the deck that I found on eBay when I first started getting connected with it. But then I found out they were all different kinds, and even African American ones. I think, well, should I get an African American one since I'm a witch? When I was a Jehovah's Witness, I don't know if y'all ever read any of their literature, but it was very funny how you had to be careful what you put in the watchtowers, like the colors of people.
Yeah.
Because especially in some African tribes, if you had a white person there, they wouldn't accept it. So you had to color the person black and vice versa. And even the color of their ties and the color of their headbands. So, I want a deck that it doesn't have a person on it. It just has animals or something. So no human color.
Okay, well, I have the deck for you then, Cicely. Listen, This is called the Wild Unknown Tarot, and it's
Wild
all
Unknown.
animals. And
I knew it. You don't say animals.
yes, oh my gosh, I love them. They're so beautiful. I mean,
It's
yeah,
called the Wild Unknown.
Wild Unknown. I was trying to look, like, I don't have a favorite card, but they're so this would be one of the wand cards.
Oh yeah, like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and the symbolism there, of course, this is fire. So this is also a snake or a cobra. And they don't do like knight, page, or page, knight, queen, king. They do daughter, son, mother, father, which
Oh,
Okay.
that balances out the feminine energies. I'm just saying. I don't know why the page and the knight, it seemed like, there's like one female in the whole thing. But I like it because you can build, they're supposed to be families. Those court cards are supposed to be people anyway. So naming them something different that is like way more relatable to us now. I mean, who is going for the queen and king and knight and page? Like, what the hell is a page anyways? So
That one might be
it brings
created by
it,
somebody that was Christian.
yeah, it brings it more to our modern time, I think. And her artwork is really pretty. So here's like the hermit. It's a little turtle inside of his shell with a candle. I mean,
Oh, the
it's
candle.
just it's a nice deck.
Okay.
Look at that color. You know, this is a wands
wow.
card, and
Good one.
so her cards, they have stories too, and it comes with a book, you know, and
Okay.
it's more like reading a story, which is what I really like, rather than here's 10 words that describe this card. Like, okay, I'll make my interpretation about that. She also doesn't do reversals. In the card meaning, it talks about the positive or negative attributes that can be associated with the card itself. It follows in line with the original 1909 meanings. So, you know, as the deck of Rider-Waite went on and in the 60s, because artwork is only copyrighted for so long in the US, it's like 28 years from the time of copyright, and then 28 years after the death of somebody who produced it. So that was the Rider-Waite guys. And then, you know, like I said, Pamela Coleman Smith didn't get anything. So it was in the 60s, not long after she died, that the whole copyright thing went away and people could take the cards, redo them, add new artwork, everything. So Kim Kranz went back and researched how Pamela Coleman Smith did it and tried to add that in here, sort of to give her credit too, because she didn't get credit. Her name's not even in the thing, and she designed the cards, you know. Something to think about if you like them. On Amazon, they're more expensive because they do come in like a big box and all of that. They're like $30 instead of, you know, the Rider-Waite you can get for 12 to 15. So I don't know. And you should put it on a wish list and have somebody gift it to you, because that's always like a great way. Like,
I didn't think about it. I never heard of wish
yeah, let somebody buy it for you.
that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I've never heard it said that way before, but I live in it's called shared living, and I was wanting a juicer because I was going to do like a cleanse, and I was looking all over eBay, Walmart, Amazon, trying to find me a juicer. And one of the ladies, she's the older lady, I met her when I worked at the car auction, and I had talked to Miss Debbie in probably close to 6 months or a year, and when she called me, she was wanting to know if I knew anybody that helped do amended taxes. And it took me like 2 days to get back to her. And the day that I got back to her, I was getting ready to go. We have it's called the free store. Cause I was gonna look for stuff for my room and like a mixer and all that. I mean, a juicer and all that. And I didn't even tell her I was going to the free store. And she said, "Well, I'm getting ready to go to the Parsons. I gotta drop some stuff off." I was like, "Really?" I was like, "That's where I'm getting ready to go." She's like, "Well, I dropped a NutriBullet off over there the other day. I had like 3 parts that I didn't have, and I'm getting ready to take this Jack Lantern juicer over there." I was like, "I'm looking for a juicer." She's like, "Oh, you are?" And so, but she was going to leave in an hour, but an hour and a half of my appointment was an hour. I was like, "Well, I'll look for that NutriBullet, and maybe I'll see you over there if you got the juicer still." And so we got there, and you know, they said they didn't see a NutriBullet or anything, but then when I got back home, right when I walked in the door, she's like, "Cicely," she's like, "I'm getting ready to leave now." I'm like, she's like, "Did you still want that juicer?" And y'all, the best juicers I've got.
That's so wonderful.
And
I
I
love
wasn't
it.
thinking about it. I was just looking everywhere for a juicer. And then here you go.
Oh,
When it comes together, you know, like being at the right place at the right time for stuff, I've been
Yes.
pretty blessed to be able to do that. And not that I haven't worked hard for things, but I've always felt really blessed that when I really, really needed something, the universe was like there in some crazy way to
Yes.
have things happen for me. I mean,
And
yeah.
mine's like, if I'm looking for it, it's like the universe, like, no, you looking too hard. But then when I ain't even thinking about it or nothing, it's like, boom, there you go, I got you. I was like,
That is
I
how I
love it.
feel about how I got my husband. I was like single for 5 years and everybody's always trying to hook me up. I was like, listen, you guys, I do not want to date. I like being alone. I'm totally fine living with me and my cats. I love it. And then my sister's like, I have this friend in Florida. You should see if he has any like business associates for you to work for, whatever. The day, like 24 hours into us chatting with each other, I was getting butterflies in my stomach. And I was just like, oh my gosh, why? And I always tell him, like, I was not looking. You know how many times I did look? And I'm like, why can't I find love? Why can't I find my meant to be person? Yeah. And then by casual acquaintance of my sister just saying, oh yeah, check with this guy about a job. I meet my future husband. It's like, okay, universe, I see you. I know. Just got jokes, man. Yeah. But that's the thing, looking too hard. You're like, you gotta just stop looking and let be.
And just let it, yep.
Yeah, let it be. Let it come to you. It's very hard, right? As in our human experience, I think we want so much to control our path and our existence and what we believe we want for ourselves that letting go and letting the universe do the work is a test. I mean, it's really hard to just not intervene in that line. And oh man, I've felt that so many times. And I have a super control freak friend who just moved down here, and I'm like, dude, you gotta stop obsessing and just like let it go. And just tell yourself, it's gonna work out. Like let it be, let it be, let it be.
Yeah.
So she used to come to me with problems and I try to solve them for her. And I was like, I gotta take a break from our relationship. Like you're really overwhelming me. And then once I got very honest with her, it's worked out really well for her. I told her, I said, keep trusting the universe. She was looking for a job here. She got 3 job offers in one day. What do I do? So I'm like, yes, just stop stressing over it and like put your energy towards something good and let it be. So now she has like one of the most amazing jobs down here for servers. Like just a super fancy restaurant I would probably never eat at, but and the servers in them, they make $500 a night. I'm like, dude, maybe I should go do that for a little while. Like, I could be a server. I was a bartender and I never made that much money.
Oh, wow.
I did that for the fun of, interacting with drunk people. I'm like, I get to see it from the other side. It's hilarious. But yeah, letting it be and not maintaining that control. Whew, that's hard. It's a hard one.
Yeah.
It is. And that's where I think I like the oracle cards, Jamie, mixing them with the tarot, because, the tarot will say something to me and then I'll like clarify a lot of times with oracle cards. And lately the message has been, let go of the reins. Just, you got to let go. You're trying to really, control the outcome of this. And therefore you're not allowing the universe to come into co-create with you,
right. Mm-hmm.
So that's a really timely word of just letting go.
The balancing of the cards, I really love that. I have 2 decks by the artist Kim Kranz, and so one is an actual tarot, but the other one is just called like Animal Spirit. Mm-hmm. So this is nothing like the structure of tarot really, but it is by elements, by the 4 elements and spirit, so 5. But when I do my tarot now, I have to draw the spirit card too. And I have found that I'm like, why? I don't know why I keep needing that other confirmation or at least that other clarity with it. But the descriptions that she gives for it or the messages that come across, I was doing this so much last year and I was actually keeping track because I'm like, I'm always getting the tarantula. And I thought that is crazy, right? It's a fire transformation card. So when I was doing the cards for about a month and I kept getting the same damn card over and over again, I was like, what are the odds? What are the odds that I keep picking the same card? Like shuffle, no matter how long I shuffle, I'm still pulling the same ones. So I started keeping a little tally. That's my science brain. Like I need to record, analyze, how many times have I got this card, And sure enough, it was almost every single card that I got was in the fire range of transformation. And I got tarantula 1 out of every 10 cards I drew. I was like, dang, it's really telling me, because the tarantula card specifically was like, you're at a precipice, you're at a crossroads on your path, but the universe knows you're going to choose the right one, because it's like sticking with something where you're not successful yet. I've never had that. I was, into something where immediately I was good, but this building a business, holy Lord, this has been a whole soul experiment for me, because you have to keep trusting and trusting and trusting and trusting.
Even when you don't see it.
Oh my gosh, when I don't see it, I'm a year into it almost. The end of June will be a year, and I have to say sometimes I just floundered a lot, but now just being dead into it, it's like, whoa, I got my second sale on Thursday last week, and I was like, holy crap. So once I put enough time into it, like it's really happening, and I don't know, it's like, all right, just keep going, keep doing what you can do, and don't give up. And yeah, I have to tell myself that. I need the tarot to tell me. I need some of my stories to tell me. I need the universe to tell me a little bit. Like I need that encouragement. And tarot, that's what it's big for.
I think because I did mobile dog grooming for like 13 years.
Wow.
And I think the best piece of business advice I got was that everybody's not your customer.
Yes.
Because it's kind of like we sitting here trying to hit everybody, but if we're not in alignment with that person, then they're not our customer. But the people, our customers, will be in alignment with them. And the ones that we get that they aren't really our customers, we'll learn from them.
That is a great message, Cicely, for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
And the stuff that I'm learning for the courses, I mean, and even in doing this meetup and making things broad, or like who all I'm trying to reach and what do I say? And, I want everybody to be able to join or like the information or whatever, but it's really not about that. It's like the universe will direct the people who need it or want to be there, rather than me trying to extend all efforts to accommodate everybody. It's like, don't get caught up in that. So I'm glad to hear you say that message. It's definitely something I've been hearing for the last couple of weeks. So just another synchronicity from the universe saying,
Love it, love it.
I think that's part of that control, trying to let go of that, thinking that we're even in control, right? We're not so much in control. We have choice, but.
And I guess too, because being human, and I know I'm more scientific, seeing is believing, but spirit you can't see like with your eyes, and so that for me, that is still to the day, it's kind of hard for me to trust, because it's kind of like I don't see it. And even when I was growing up, it's kind of like we called it Jehovah, but it was like my invisible friend. I couldn't see him, but I felt more comfortable talking to him than I did even my parents at times. And so now, kind of like I don't use that name, but I just say like divine light or whatever. It's kind of like you feel the effects of it, kind of like the wind. You don't see it, but you feel the effects of it. So
yes. One of the things that I've learned more than anything in talking to people about spiritual stuff is that we cannot all have the same name for what we feel. Like whether you call it divine spirit, light, I call it team of light, the universe, divine feminine, goddess, all of the different archetypes from the past, whatever it is, it does resonate. Whatever one resonates with you and you address it as that is totally fine.
Yep.
Because it's what you feel. It makes that connection stronger. So when people ask me about like what deities do you pray to, or I don't know, give ritual to, I'm like, I don't, just like in general, good energy in the universe. I don't know. I mean, I know of some of them, and I've definitely said like the energy of a character from the past, but I think that it all comes from one source anyway. So we're all just a division of the exact same energy having different experiences. And that's the way that I've thought about it. But the names, right? We get caught up on the names. I mean, this is like wars are fought over the names.
And how we, connect, with the universe, with spirit, with the divine, there's so many hangups and that it took me a minute even just to kind of, when my daughter first, years ago showed up with the tarot deck, I kind of, I was like, what are you doing? And then when she read, something just kind of clicked. She actually bought me my first deck.
Aw.
Yeah. And I was so open to it because when I was going through my crazy marriage that was sliding downhill on the sled, I was up real late one night on Facebook, and there was this girl just reading my cards live. And I was just watching her, and just her connection. I said, she has to be connected to spirit, to God, because there's no way that she is absolutely just encouraging these people that are just random people just showing up. So I actually just paid the $15 donation, and she pulled 5 cards, and I have never had anyone else in my life pinpoint exactly where I was. And it was, this thing of actually leaving this abusive marriage. So she nailed it. And from that point on, I was like, I'm a believer. I mean, it was so accurate and so heartfelt.
I always try to tell people, and this goes back to like grabbing people off the street when I've been intoxicated and reading for them really quickly and doing these like little interventions. I almost feel like where there's a lot of people who don't choose a faith because they don't know which one's right and they don't want to make the wrong choice. So they make no choice. And I always tell people, like, it's not about that. It's about listening when the universe is talking to you, because every single one of these religions and things, if people are doing it in the right way, meaning they're causing no harm, they're all valid and they're all helping people live a better life, through faith of something. To have faith in nothing would be a harder existence than to have faith in everything. So
well, because even having faith in nothing, that's having faith in yourself. So choosing nothing is kind of like choosing, I guess, yourself.
I don't know. Well, this is where I've met people who have been very suicidal when they have faith in nothing and they just think that life, there's no reason why we actually exist. And I was like, oh, that has to be one of the most untrue statements I think I've ever heard, is that there's no reason for us to exist other than to die. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
It hurts. And I'm like, I am so sorry that whatever has happened to you in your life, that it's led to this like thought process. But if you can accept that even if you die, it was for the life that you led before that was for something. Maybe you didn't get to the spot you were supposed to and ended it, but even the stuff before that, there were lessons, and it can't die. Like energy can't die. So what lives within us, what we've experienced, can't die either. And that's like the best way that I can explain it for people. But to just know that when your message comes to you, it's going to rock you. It's going to hit you so much. You're not going to know what happened, right? You're just going to be like, what the, where did this just come from? And all of a sudden, all the things that never added up in your life will make sense. And
absolutely,
things that you've seen in the past that you ignored, you're like, oh my gosh, all of it comes together now for this, like,
for a time right now.
Much makes sense. I have to let my cat out the door. She's like, I'm not.
Who else is here? Is Cicely and
Jessica
Jean?
left. Yeah.
Okay.
So I haven't talked to Jessica in a while. I haven't seen her in a while. She started the year and a day stuff. I think she wants to choose the Wiccan path, which is totally fine. I just told her I'm not gonna have a lot of knowledge for you with that. But man, she is a go-getter. She has been on so many meetups, and she brings so much knowledge into the meetings because she's already done research on stuff. So when she went through the card deck, I was like, yeah, that's Jessica. She knows. Not at all. I was like, I'm not enough about jumping around and stuff and not keeping it in order. I was like, exactly. And so now we'll go back to that. Yeah, she's very knowledgeable, and she's a teacher, becoming a fire person. I don't know. So she's got this whole transition going on in her life.
Wow.
Which is,
love it.
Even in fire is transformation. So I love that is like a thing that you're going into from teachers. Like, that's very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, she joined them back in March, I think. So she's not really been on meetups too much, but a wealth of knowledge.
That's so good.
Yeah. It's been exactly 6 months now. since I started this meetup.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, exactly
That's
6 months.
that's so good.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that people want to listen or talk about stuff or ask questions. The question thing is where, I realized that just coming on and saying, all right, what questions are there? That doesn't really work. But, Maggie with you saying, okay, well, now I have a question. And, I like that because I like being able to help direct people. If I don't know the answer, I'll be like, oh, I don't know, but here's what I do know about it. And to just research it a little bit more or something. So.
Yeah, because I'm interested in more about palmistry.
Yeah.
If you ever want to do a class on that.
That's good. Yeah, I'd love
I think
to
next week.
explore that.
Yeah, it'll, I don't know what it would be like as far as understanding what other people's hands look like from afar. So I hope that it's not, too difficult for people to understand or read or something. I don't know. Can one of you put your palm up to the screen and see if I can see it?
Is it right or left?
Cicely, I can see your lines really well. Maggie? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, it's really not that bad. Sarah, yours are a little bit whited out because of there's a light in front of it. Maybe turn it slightly with an angle so that shadow falls over it a little bit.
The light is a screen.
Oh, wow, it's very bright on there. Yeah. I can't make out all your lines, but if you cup your hand like that more, a little less, open, open, open. Yeah, I can start to see your lines form a lot better, but yeah, okay, so I could do like an actual palm.
Oh, wow.
Just get a bunch. If you had to do paper, just get a bunch of different papers and like seeing how the different line looks. I know there's 3 major ones and then like a marriage line or something like that.
Yeah, listen, depending on what book you get, that's exactly right. You'll find major, minor, you'll find the mounds. And the one thing I never understood, which I want to eventually, is the shapes of people's hands. Like, so if you've got a square hand or a long hand or like short fingers versus like, I would have to get out a ruler and go, okay, how long is your palm compared to how long is your fingers? I don't know. Do you have short ones or long ones? Yeah. But oftentimes, like I said, usually it's when I can hold somebody's hand, I can feel something. And then it's the energy, it's the squishiness of them. When people have softer, squishier hands, they're compassionate people. I mean, they've got a lot of love in them that's either not being fulfilled or they give away too much. But those will be the feelings with like the softer hands. People with the really hard hands where there's not a lot of give, these are people who are, literally harder. They don't have a lot of the emotion and they're more reserved with giving affections and, they don't see things in that emotional terms. They're more like, I want to say tit for tat. Like, what did you do for me? I'll do that for you. It's very, trying to equalize it. And so relationships with them are really hard because they don't understand why people don't get them, and fingernails are a big thing. So you don't have to show me your fingernails if you don't want to, because I might tell you something you don't like to hear.
I've got acrylics on, so.
Okay, with acrylics, that usually means that you're hiding a secret part of yourself. Acrylics mean that there is a part of yourself that you don't want people to know about. So this is your front. This is how we this is how we keep our secrets to ourselves, is by putting on acrylics.
Well, see, that's what I always thought was makeup, but I never thought of it was acrylics on your fingers.
Acrylics, yeah, acrylics show that. So it's just a hiding. I wouldn't be able to tell you about, this is more of like your sex life. It can be your ability to give affection versus not, like how, if your energies are scattered. So people who have nails, let's see, can you see my little finger? See how it's curved like a rainbow more so?
Uh-huh.
Okay, when you've got a real curve like that, those are people who are willing to bend to other people's needs. When you've got a flatter fingernail bed, so that it's basically a gradient, right? The more curved, the more giving you are to others. The flatter you are, the less giving you are. You want things for yourself. And this usually means, this is like bedroom stuff. So fingernails represent bedroom stuff.
Oh, wow.
Sexuality, health of your mentality about sex. People who have fanned nails, if you've ever seen when a nail grows out, but it's like it sort of spreads
Right,
this
that's
way.
up.
Yeah. That spreading your energy is too thin. So it's people who can be very emotional and they're trying to like do everything, give to everybody. When the nails are bit down a lot, if you've ever seen men, maybe women, who have like nail beds that are like right here, but then their whole finger plumps out on the end of it.
Uh-huh.
These are people who literally mentally abuse themselves all the time. Like they're very
Wow.
hard on themselves. They're really
Are they the ones that chew their fingers, like always chewing their fingers?
Down to the quick, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's when it gets so far back that they've created a habit of hating themselves and living with it. And it's like
Oh wow.
it would be so much work to help that person love themselves. So it's very hard for you to love them, because if they can't love themselves, how
How can
loving
you,
you would be hard as well. So choosing people with hands that and
But
then
I never,
go ahead.
no, my dad, for a man, I always thought he had some pretty long fingernails,
Yeah.
but he was always like, he like hated himself. He was like always, I'm bad. They had him diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome. And one day I was like, Daddy, you always say you love everybody. I was like, how can you love somebody when you don't love yourself?
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Super
know.
true.
But he had long fingernails, not like curving, but long for a man, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, with long fingernails, it often means that you're able to cling on to something, right? So it's not necessarily an attack
passed.
thing, but
Past, he lives in the past.
clingers, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's me. I used to keep super long fingernails and talk about living in the past. Oh my gosh, I'm a Pisces. Oof. Daydream, living in the past, but I got out of all of that. I just started cutting my nails. No. I did the hard work. But
So
I
good.
recognized it. It was like I knew that could be a thing that I fall a victim to, a trap in my own persona. So I was like, I refuse to live in the past. I refuse to live in the past.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, whenever you change, if your nails will change too, like whenever you change the
Even crazier, Cicely, your fingers change. All right, the shapes of your fingers change. So if you can, it's really hard for me to relax my hand being on camera now. Okay, but if you can look at my first finger and the height of it compared to where my ring finger is, the way that your finger links all mean something. All right, so this is your finger of like of leadership and power. And this is your finger that represents your five senses as a human. And this is your creativity, inspiration, artistic finger. And this would be your finger of business, like business relationships. This is friends and relationships over here. So before I went in the military, my first finger was like down here. I had a very short first finger, very short, because I was never, I didn't speak in public. I was the shyest kid ever, never. But after joining the military and like owning my own self and power, my first finger has sometimes been almost as long as my middle finger, which is
Get
so
it out of here.
weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
So
when you said that, there's this thing where you hold your hands. I can't share on this phone, but you put your hands together and you see which one's the longest, and then you tell yourself, finger grow, and then one of them will grow like longer than.
Is that true?
Yes, I can't tell you. And so when you said that, it made me think, well, wait a second, did I change your personality to do it? And then you tell it to grow back, and then like, I'm trying to think where I saw that at, but I was doing like, that did get a little bit longer.
It's well, and I've seen people, especially as a palm reader, if somebody's forcing their hand on you, you already know they have issues. If they're like really forcing it, you're like, ooh, hold on, energy. I don't, like you're a lot. But when people try to lay their hands down, most of the time they lay their hand down like this. It's like you're stretched out like tight, flat, really hard. And I'm like, okay, now relax your hand and lay it down. And that's going to give you a much better idea of how your hands naturally lay. And then you can start assessing them and looking at them and stuff. But even for myself, you can shift your fingers. You can move them to where they can sway to one side or the other. If you really know what people are looking for, you can sort of make them lean to one side or the other. But yeah, palmistry is super interesting. Believe me, every single person I look at or meet or see, I look at their hands. I cannot help myself.
But
Like a small
it
window
makes
into
you
their
wonder,
personality.
everybody we encounter, what it is that they're reading about us that we don't.
Yeah.
I'm
And
gonna
I
I'm
don't
like,
come across
okay,
many.
read on.
Yeah.
Tell me all about it.
Well, I want you to know that from here, that would be very hard, but the stuff that is really good comes with physical contact. When you make that energetic connection, I can
Wow.
tell you all about what it means when you see it, but once you like
That's
touch
powerful.
hands with somebody, there's a different sort of exchange that ends up happening. I've had people that, when I was reading their hand, I got images of their grandmother's house and a staircase. And I was like, what the hell is that? Some weird house. I had to tell them, I'm picturing this place. What is that? And they told me, she's like, that's my grandma's house. I was like, something happened with those stairs. You should ask about that. I don't know. This is just what I'm getting, So when the images or the words or something pop in, the hardest part, like control, right? The hardest part is letting yourself say the shit you're thinking. Is you want to overthink it and judge and be like, don't say that. That sounds crazy.
Right.
I'm getting pigs and peaches. What does that mean? I have no idea. But for them, it's something significant. You just got that's where the trust comes in, like just let it flow out, say everything and then let them pick apart the stuff that really connects to them and just
And that only happens when you're actually touching their hands.
when I touch people, yeah.
See, that sounds like psychometry. Where you touch something, and it could be their hands too, but some kind of article that belongs to them, and where their hands belongs to them, and then it gives you a message about them.
Yeah. I never thought about it like that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I wish I was a medium that could like touch things, know things like in my next life. I keep telling my spirit guides that. I was like,
no, but if you can do that with hands right now, you already are. Because hands belong to them.
Yeah. I never thought about it like that, but I guess you're right. And as we read the cards and get messages, it's the same thing, being able to perceive that message from the other side. That's what mediums do. Yeah.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah, because I never
so great, you guys.
A week ago.
Say that again, Cicely. Sorry.
I never even heard of psychometry until it's probably been about 2 weeks ago. I never even heard of it. And I was on Udemy one day and there it was. I was like, what is that? And now you're
I'm gonna go look it up after this meeting because I don't think I've ever heard it. At first I thought you said psychology. And I was like, nope, that's not what she said. Psychometry.
Yes, psychometry. Reading the soul of things is what she called it.
Wow.
I did learn the correct word for, like we say, read the cards for tarot, but there's actually a word for it called cartonomy. Cartonomy, something like that. It's cart, C-A-R-T, and then, oh no, it's mancy, cartomancy. That's what it is, because it sounded a lot like necromancy. And I was like, what is that? I know what necromancy is. Cartomancy, I didn't know. That's what it's actually called when you read tarot cards for divination. Cartomancy.
Cardamom.
Never heard that word before in my life.
Never heard of it either.
All right, well, it is 8:00, so I better let everybody go.
Yes.
I hear my husband in the kitchen now, so I'm gonna go up and say hi to him.
Oh.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions.
Oh yeah, Sarah, go ahead.
Okay, so I don't know if anybody read or watches YouTube readers.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because like I'm like hooked on it. I feel like it's like accurate. I feel like all the time, like I feel like every one that I hear, it's like exactly like my story, like the stuff that like I'm going through. So like I'm just wondering, do you and I know that it's just like they say it's like a generic read. It's for like I'm a Gemini, so they say it's for Gemini, so it may not resonate with everyone, but I think because I'm kind of going through something, like is there such thing as like a good reading? Because like I said, like I am going through I spoke to or I was writing with Jamie, right? So I
Yeah.
know about like
The
yeah.
stuff.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So I know like I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but is there like such thing as like a good reading, or is like every reading like, oh, you're going through this struggle or whatever? Because like I know about how when you identify or you think or you like, I don't want to like always claim that, you know what I mean? Because like about the manifestation, like when you
Yeah.
always identify with struggle, I don't want to be stuck in this loop, so like am I doing myself like harm by just like every day listening to these things? And like I said, like if is tarot always like, oh, you're going through a struggle, oh, you know what I'm saying?
I do. Yes.
You're like, is
Yes.
there such thing as like a reading? I mean, and I've been meaning to like I don't have any Aries in me, so I'm like, maybe I should just listen to an Aries reading just to see if like they're also feeling the
Yeah.
same thing. And or I don't have any Pisces in my chart, so like maybe listening to Pisces, everybody just always struggle, having some kind of story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. So I totally feel you in what you're talking about. My mom and my sister have both gotten into the habitual listening to a certain reader over a certain amount of time. So there's a couple things for you here. The more that you dwell on something, the more that your reading will come out about that dwelling.
Right.
So if you don't break free from the cycle,
Mm-hmm.
your reading will not break free from the cycle.
Right.
So that's one part. You're recognizing a pattern and you're like, when am I going to hear something good? You're going to hear something good when you change your pattern. The second thing is that definitely these are good readings. These are people who are tapped into something and you have been put there by your forces to see the message, to be heard, to feel like you've been exposed in a way that you can now say, I acknowledge that this is what I'm going through, but you got to take that next step to what's next after that. How do you've acknowledged it, right? The universe has acknowledged it. You've had several readings about it. What's your next step going to be? Because now would be the time to go internal, like shut all of the other sources of information out and now do the reflection. Okay, I know this about my situation. How do I move past it? Or what am I going to do? What's my daily habit number one going to be? Finding the affirmation cards instead, like for things when it's a struggle, what's your next thing you're telling yourself? And then after that, come back to that same reader in a month or two and listen again. And if it doesn't resonate with you any longer, the time that you were meant to be there with that reader is done. And you can move on to another thing, another place. So for people who can stay hooked on these things for long periods of time, you're being drawn into something where you're repeating a pattern. It's probably hard for them, but because they keep getting validation over it, they believe that they're still in it. So if you keep being told that you're in it, you're going to stay in it, right?
Yeah, because making that belief stronger.
Yeah, you have to make sure you break the connection and go, okay, I heard my message. I've been given the same message for 7 days or something, and it's always right and it's always speaking accuracy. Now you need to ask the universe, now what? Where's my next step into something different? I figured out what's in that box that I want to like package up and put away or deal with or burn or whatever. Now what am I building? So I love that you're listening to these people. I think they're great. I've heard some of them. I listened to them for my mom and my sister because they're so shocked that it's so on point. And I was like, wow, that's crazy on point for you guys. It means nothing to me because, like you said, you have no Pisces. I'm a Pisces. My sister's a Taurus and my mom's a Scorpio. So you would not be wrong to try to listen to another signs readings just so you knew you're not crazy, because that's kind of how you feel like everybody's saying the same thing because I feel like I'm hearing it a lot. But that's the universe trying to get the message through to you so that now you'll move on. Because once you get that, yes, I've heard you, you gotta take the next step for the next thing for sure.
Yeah, cause like I'm at a point. It's like, okay, yeah, like I like gone through the stuff, but like now, like a lot of like the readers are saying like I need to like focus on self, and like I'm totally doing that. Like just like Jessica, like I'm going to like a lot of, or attending a lot of meetups, like learning about, spirituality,
Yes.
witch stuff, and just like as much like I'm keeping busy with that, like with still working a full-time job, and just like really just like filling up my time and stuff. So like I am working on myself, but not filling up my time because like I'm trying to run away. It's just like I'm trying to like always better myself, and like that's what the readers are saying for me to do, and I'm like, okay, so I'm doing that. So I don't know, maybe
Good.
I'll have to do like exactly what you were saying, like just kind of like, I don't know, like ease up, and then like maybe because like I guess I see with myself as like as soon as like yeah I acknowledge, and then like I start to like go down another path, I'm like maybe I'm getting impatient, and it's like it's gonna all come in time,
Yeah.
and yeah, okay.
It's that letting go and knowing that you can't reach your next destiny until the time is ready, because they're still putting it all together for you, knowing that one day you're going to walk right into the spot where you're supposed to be. But this in between time is definitely for that reflection or journaling, stuff that just gets you more in touch with yourself, like you're doing. And if you're doing that,
Mm-hmm.
you don't necessarily need to hear the message of that anymore. You can,
Right.
do something else,
Yeah.
experiment with something else. But
Yeah.
it's good.
Okay.
It's good that you're getting those messages because they resonate with you. It's
Mhm.
perfect.
What is your sign? What are you?
E?
Yeah.
Gemini.
Oh, you're
Gemini.
Gemini. Oh,
Yeah, my
wait.
Gemini.
When's your birthday?
June 11th.
June 11th. Okay. I'm thinking my dad was a Gemini or whatever. But I know
My
for
dad's a
me,
Gemini.
when's his birthday? Mine's April. When's April 26th? Is that Gemini?
Yep, that's true.
Uh,
No, May.
Aries?
May
April 26th is Taurus.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. He's April's the 26th.
Yeah.
If it's April the 26th, yeah, it's Taurus.
That's Taurus.
May
Taurus,
26th.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was one thing. You ever heard of Louise Hayes?
Mm-hmm.
She's one of the ones, because I used to be like really hard with like self-love, and she has this thing, it's called mirror works, and that's one of the things that helped me the most. Even now I sleep with like a mirror on my bed, and when you can get to the point where you can look in the mirror and say, Cicely, I love you, and like really mean it and really feel it, and it's kind of like, because I know, because everything, like even the reason why I was that way, everything is inside of you. And I know one day I was asking myself, I was like, why am I this way? Why can't I walk in front of a mirror without looking at it? And it brought me back to a time when it was before I was 12 years old, because I had scoliosis, and this was before I had my surgery. And y'all know what the humpback of Notre Dame looks like? I remember I was looking in the mirror, and this big old hump was like showing over my shoulder, and I got to thinking, that's part of me. And I couldn't even look in the mirror for the longest time. That was probably like when I was 10 or 11, and I learned about mirror works probably when I was like 31, started learning about it. So, but that town, and people like, you got your shirt on, so or your shirt on backwards. And I'm like, oh no, I didn't, because I was thinking to myself, I ain't looking no mirror. So, and that's just one thing, just getting curious about yourself and why you do things, and kind of treating it like a little child. Like it's kind of like you have fun with it. Like, well, this is me. No matter how I got this way, this is me. Do I want to keep being this way, or how do I want to be? Like, even though the different signs have different qualities, any of us can cultivate any of those qualities of the other signs. So it's like we what is it? Life by design. We make ourselves the way we want us to be.
We do, through our thoughts and actions.
Yep.
Yeah, we definitely do. Yeah, Cicely, just a couple weeks ago, I said, I don't even remember which topic it was, but I told people to tell themselves, like, look in a mirror and say, I love you. And like really love yourself. So I love that you're bringing that up. I didn't know anything about that or mirror work, but you know about coming to terms with who you are and loving yourself first. Even if you're not done working on yourself yet, like love yourself anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, as long as we're living, we'll always be working on ourselves. Like the world's gonna always be changing. So inwardly, even though we get all these qualities and we go cultivate them to how we want them to be, we can always do more. Because I don't know, just the other day I was thinking about perfection. Like everybody's striving for perfection, and where did I write that? Cause it's the first time that it hit me that way, and it's kind of like, here it is, and I of all these papers I got all around, this one I picked up. Because it's like perfection is something only the weak strive for the strong know that all things can only keep getting better. Well, actually, I missed the main point because it says perfection is something only the weak strive for because it gives a way out for growth. For the strong know that all things can only keep getting better. And so
Wow.
we might look at something and say, "Oh, I got it perfect. I got it perfect." But if we do it like 10 more minutes, it gets better. So which one is perfect? The before the 10 minutes or after the 10 minutes? So you keep working and it keeps getting more perfection. So it's like, I guess perfection is practice. So
You know what? That's a huge message to me because all last week, what I was learning about was don't let perfection be the enemy of getting it done.
Yeah.
Because I have definitely been a perfectionist in my life, and getting on camera or having makeup on or hair done or my office right or whatever was always like, oh my gosh, I've got to do everything exactly right and just and this has helped me overcome the perfectionist mindset of things being perfect before getting it done or just appearing. Because when I'm worried about that perfection side, I'm definitely not myself. I'm not. I'm on that side of me trying to be what everybody else might expect of me, or even worse, what I expect out of myself. Because you're hardest on yourself about what you expect, and it's like I won't come across as authentic if that's what I'm worried about. So I've had to repeat it to myself, like write it on pieces of paper, repeat it to myself. Perfection is not the goal here. That's not the goal. So stop thinking that. And I don't know where that formed from. I think like just early on in school. I mean, young in school, right? Liked having the answers, liked being right. Then perfectionism built after that, and control and domineering and leadership. And
yeah, but I mean, but
on itself.
when you said you didn't know where it came from, I thought you were talking about where the word perfection came from.
Oh.
You think about things that people call perfect. Who set the standard for that?
Oh, yeah.
So what is perfect?
I learned that early on in art because I always question that. Who decided this is art?
Yes, and it's all in the eyes of the beholder.
Yeah. So I think that's probably perfectionism for me is me judging myself, on how perfect can I be, or at least appear, because I can't be perfect, but I can try to appear perfect maybe, and it's just not realistic. So I'm really thankful to the universe for having you say that because it brought something to me for sure. Oh man. All right, laptop battery's getting low.
Maybe it's wrong
to,
because I never looked at it that way before either.
Yeah. Well, you guys, this has been so great. I love it when like just a few of us get together and we're able to, share and comment and have questions and stuff. I really appreciate y'all staying on so long, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Yeah. Thank you.
And Sarah, be encouraged.
Yeah, get your mirror and put it by your bed.
Yeah. We all go through those moments where we're second guessing ourselves and we're trying to figure out what the path is. Just ease into it. I know what helped me is a lot of meditation and journaling time, just really putting thoughts on paper, especially when I would be the one to go to YouTube and it would resonate. And then I would, go again and go again and go again. But a lot of it is just doing the work. It's just, like Jamie said, just, you might have to journal it down and just reflect on it and see what are some things I can pitch out. What are some things that aren't serving me anymore? And then how can I move forward with what, these amazing readers have laid before your feet. So
yeah,
we're all on the path, and you're there too. So
love it.
Give yourself a little latitude. You'll be fine.
You're amongst the living.
For sure.
Well, y'all have a good rest of your week.
All right. right, you too.
All right.
Bye,
Jamie,
you guys.
Cicely, Sarah, take care.
Yeah.
Have a good trip.
see you
Jamie, you're
later.
leaving now? You're leaving out of town now?
Yep, Thursday. I'll be back late Sunday night, so I'll be ready for the meetup on Monday, but I'll be out of town for 4 days.
Well, sending you positive vibes and
Nice
protection.
trip.
Yes, thank you.
Carry some
get your-
obsidian with you or
And your amethyst and your white light.
amethyst is good. Yeah.
I'll be taking my sage with me for sure.
There you go, for sure. Yep.
All right, bye, you guys.
Take care.
you.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.